She didn't enter like a defendant. She entered like a VIP late to her own gala. The double doors swung open, and before the clerk could even call the case, she was already halfway down the aisle. Blazer crisp, hair perfect, heels slicing the quiet and clean, expensive beats. She didn't glance at the court seal, or the audience, or the cameras. Her eyes went straight to the bench, like she was checking the quality of a hotel suite she'd booked. "Let's make this quick," she said under her breath, loud enough for 3 rows to hear. "I have actual work to do." Judge Judith Files did not stand. She did not lean forward. She did what she'd done 1,000 times with 1,000 egos. She went perfectly, dangerously still. The clerk cleared his throat. "Case of Collins versus Park. Parties, please stand." The young woman in the navy blazer didn't move at first. The bailiff took a single step toward her, hand resting casually near his belt. "Ma'am," he said. Up. She rolled her eyes, but she stood, making sure to add a dramatic sigh. "State your name for the record." Judge Files said. "Alexandra Park," she replied, chin tipping up. "Daughter of Congressman Daniel Park?" A soft murmur slid through the gallery. People knew that name. Campaign commercials, committee hearings, podiums, and flags. Judge Hale's eyebrow ticked up. "And your role in this matter?" "I'm the one being dragged here," Alex said. Over a broken shelf in a coffee shop, there was no "Your Honor." No courtesy. Just pure, trained entitlement. The judge's gaze slid to the other table. A woman in her early 30s stood there. Simple blouse, black work pants, hair tied back in a quick knot that still smelled faintly of espresso and sugar. A folded cafe apron rested over her arm. She clutched a thick folder to her chest like it was the only solid thing in a world that kept shaking. "Your name?" the judge said. "Mia Collins," she answered. "Owner of Collins Corner Cafe." Her voice was gentle, but not weak. She was nervous, yes, but there was something else in it too. Stubbornness, worn in and quiet. "Miss Collins is suing for damages to her property and loss of income," the judge said. "And Miss Park has filed a countersuit claiming harassment and defamation." She set the file down. "We're going to untangle that." Alex let out another dramatic sigh, tossing her hair back. "This is absurd," she said. "It's a small shop." A couple mugs fell. "That's not exactly a tragedy." Mia flinched, fingers digging into the cardboard of her folder. Judge Hale's eyes didn't leave Alex. "We'll start with your version," she said. "Tell me what happened that day." Alex shrugged, as if this were a tedious podcast interview she'd already done 3 times. "I stopped by her little place after a meeting," she said. "I wanted a custom order. The staff were rude. She refused a discount even after I told her who I was. Then a shelf collapsed. Nobody was hurt. I offered to leave my card. Next thing I know, she's acting like I trashed her entire business." "You left your card?" the judge asked. "My aide did," Alex said, flicking her hand. "Same difference." "In her telling," the judge replied. "You demanded she replace product without charge, refused to pay for what you broke, and told her you'd make sure she regretted it. We'll see where the truth sits." Alex laughed once, sharp. Of course she said that. People love pretending to be victims when they recognize my last name. It's a shortcut to attention. The audience shifted, uncomfortable. Judge Files turned to Mia. Double quotes, "Miss Collins," she said. "When was the first time you saw Miss Park that day?" Mia swallowed, then forced herself to speak. "She came in around 4, she said. We were in the middle of a rush." She walked straight to the counter and cut the line. When my barista asked her to step back, she said, "Do you know who I am?" Alex rolled her eyes so hard it was nearly theatrical. "Everyone always dramatizes that line," she muttered. "Did you say it?" Judge Files asked, cutting her a look. "I said I didn't have time to wait behind half the city," Alex snapped. "Same idea, whatever." Mia continued, voice steadier now that she'd started. She wanted a large custom drink and a dozen pastries for an event. She wanted them free for exposure because she might tag us, Mia said. When I told her we don't do that, she got louder. She said my cafe looked cheap anyway. She swung her bag around, it hit the front shelf. And everything went. She took a breath, the memory flashing in her eyes. Cups, saucers, some display ceramics. It crashed. People jumped. Why didn't you mention the shelf before? Alex cut in. You're making it sound like I destroyed a museum? Because I was giving you a chance to fix it, Mia said, finally looking directly at her. You walked out. Judge Hawley held up a hand. One at a time, Miss Collins. After the shelf fell, what happened? Alex's mouth flattened. She did not like being interrupted. You're really going to indulge this? She said, fine. The shelf fell. It was a mess. I told them to send the bill to my father's office. My staff would handle it. I left. That's it. Your father's office, the judge repeated. So his name would be on the paperwork, not yours? That's how things are processed, Alex replied. You of all people should know how families in public service do logistics. The judge's gaze cooled another degree. Ms. Park, she said, there are two ways this can go. Either we stroll through this slowly, with you continuing to posture and minimize, or we can open the file that just arrived on my bench and skip ahead to the part where your story starts to fall apart. Which would you prefer? Alex stilled. Only then did she seem to register the slim. An open folder resting by the judge's hand, the one that hadn't been there when she strutted in, the one with a courthouse stamp and a handwritten note. Security exhibits Collins versus Park for the first time. That polished confidence flickered, and the room, sensing it, leaned forward as one. If you were sitting in that courtroom, watching a congressman's daughter laugh off a small business owner's fear, what would you be hoping is in that folder? A blurry maybe, or something so clear it ends the performance in one frame? Asterisk. Judge Hawley laid a single fingertip on the edge of the folder. She didn't open it. Not yet. Miss Park, she said evenly. You've told us you were barely near the shelf. Barely in the shop, and far too important to be wasting time here. Before I look at anything in this file, I'm giving you one opportunity to adjust your version of events. Alex folded her arms, shoulders tensing. I have nothing to adjust, she said. I didn't lie. I left at 4:15. I had a fundraiser at 5. Ask my driver. We might, the judge replied. But we'll start with this. She opened the folder, the sound of paper sliding against. Cardboard was quiet. The way people held their breath was not. She flipped through the first few sheets, eyes scanning fast. A timestamp. A printed log. A still frame. The hum from the gallery rose like static. Alex shifted her weight, trying not to let the unease show. Those photos are fake, she blurted suddenly, louder than she intended. You know how easy it is to edit things now? Anyone can drag a timestamp onto an image. Judge Hawley didn't look up. I haven't said a single word about what's in here, she said. You're the only one making accusations so far. Mia's hands tightened around her folder. She took one hesitant step closer and placed a glossy print on the bench. This is from our indoor camera, she said quietly. The one facing the shelves. Her fingers brushed the wood as she pulled back, like she was afraid she didn't have the right to touch the judge's desk. The picture showed her, cafe's main wall, a wooden shelf, now cracked and sagging, shards of ceramic scattered across the floor. In the corner, the shadow of a woman's figure, arm outstretched a fraction of a second before everything gave way. Judge Hawley studied the image. Then she lifted her eyes to Alex. You're telling me you were never near this wall? She asked. Alex's laugh came out sharp and brittle. Obviously not, she said. I ordered at the counter. I stood by the window. This could be anyone. It's low res. It's shady. I'm not playing along with some edited drama for TV. From the back corner, a young man in a Collins Corner t-shirt shifted. The judge noticed. She always noticed. Mr. Harris, she said, reading from a name on one of the documents. You submitted a sworn statement this morning? Please step forward. Alex's head snapped around. Wait, what? She said, you have people sneaking around behind my back now? A barista, barely out of college, stepped hesitantly into the well, hands shoved into his pockets, eyes avoiding Alex's glare. The bailiff swore him in. State your name and role. Judge Hawley said. Asterisk Tyler Harris, he answered. Shift lead at Collins Corner. I was on register that day. Mr. Harris, she said, did you witness the incident with the shelf? He nodded. Yeah, he said quietly. Miss Park came in, cut the line. When Mia asked her to wait, she said something like, I don't queue with people who don't send my father thank you notes. Snickers chorded through the gallery. I told her we'd be right with her, Tyler went on. She leaned on the front shelving unit, kind of swung her bag around. It knocked the top row. Everything went down like dominoes. Did she offer to pay? The judge asked. He hesitated. She said her office would handle any little mess, he said. Then she told us we'd regret making a scene and walked out. Alex exploded. That is not what happened, she snapped. You're twisting everything. You were rude. You made me feel unsafe. Everyone stared. You all loved seeing me off balance. Judge Hawley raised a finger. Stop, she said. The single syllable pressed the air back into place. Miss Park, she continued, even if your recollection was accurate, feeling off balance does not absolve you from what happened physically in that store. She turned back to the folder. You claimed you left at 4:15, she said. The exterior security system logs tell a different story. The monitor on the wall changed to a split view, the cafe door from the outside. Digital timestamp clearly visible. There, the clerk said. Pausing the frame, 4:41 p.m. Alex, in the exact lavender blazer she was wearing in court today, pushed through the door. Looking back over her shoulder with a scowl, another frame. 10 seconds later, the shattered shelf visible through the window. Tyler and Mia both staring, stunned. A low wave of sound went through the room. System clocks drift, Alex said quickly. Wi-Fi lags. Everyone knows that. The system, Judge Hall said evenly, is sent to a cloud server. It records to within the second. It doesn't forget, it doesn't lag, and it doesn't care who your father is. Alex's throat worked. Then your tech is wrong, she insisted. It has to be. I had a car waiting. You can't prove. The judge lifted another page. A rideshare log, she said. Subpoenaed from your driver's account. Pickup from Collins Corner, 4:48 p.m., drop off at the River House. Hotel, 5:12 p.m., your fundraiser's in time, 5:30. She raised an eyebrow. You had plenty of time to break a shelf and still make your photo op. Tyler stepped back from the stand, relief and guilt flickering across his features. It was never easy to testify against power, even when power had been reckless. Alex's composure frayed another inch. So what? She said, talking faster now. I was there a few minutes longer than I remembered. That doesn't make me guilty of all this. We're not done, the judge said. The damages aren't just ceramic pieces on the floor. Miss Collins, what did this cost you? Mia took a breath. We lost 2 days of business, she said. We had to replace shelves, cups, stock. We had regulars asking if we were okay. Staff quit shifts because they were scared she'd come back with cameras or press. And then, she added more quietly, her lawyer sent us a letter claiming we'd harassed a public servant's family member and threatened to sue for emotional distress if we tried to bill her. Judge. Hawley turned to Alex. Did you authorize that letter? She asked. I was angry, Alex said. They were posting about me, making jokes. Someone wrote that their favorite coffee shop got attacked by politics. I'm not just going to let my name be dragged because some barista wants retweets. Your response to that, the judge said, was to weaponize your father's office instead of writing a check. Alex's jaw clenched. You're all focusing on the wrong threat, she said. You have no idea what it's like to have strangers send things to your house, to comment on your face, your clothes, your family. I don't get to be just a customer anywhere. And yet, Judge Hawley said, you behaved as if everyone else in that cafe was just scenery. The room held its breath. Miss Collins, the judge said softly. When she left that day, what did your staff ask you? Mia blinked, then answered. They asked if someone like her could shut us down, she said. If complaining would make trouble, if their names would end up on some list. And what did you tell them? The judge asked. Mia's grip tightened on the apron. I told them we'd do the same thing we always do, she said. Clean up. Start again. And this time, write everything down. Judge Holly nodded, satisfied. Which brings us back to this, she said, resting her hand on the folder. We've seen the video. We've heard a witness. We've seen your lawyer's letter. There's still one piece missing. What? Alex snapped. More fake screenshots? The judge's gaze hardened. The part that shows what you did when you realized they weren't going to stay quiet. She said, the part that turned this from a messy customer incident into something infinitely more serious. Because the only thing more dangerous than entitlement caught on camera is what entitlement does when it feels cornered. And Alex Park was about to show exactly that. Asterisk. There's a special kind of silence that only happens in courtrooms. It isn't empty. It's packed with don'ts. Don't move. Don't talk. Don't breathe too loud. That silence filled the room now as Alex gripped the edge of the podium, pulse visible in her neck. You're twisting this, she said, voice sharper. All of you are. You don't get how manipulated public figures are. Judge Holly steepled her fingers. Explain it to me, she said. Because so far, all I see is a woman who broke something, refused to pay, then tried to scare a small business into shutting up. Alex's eyes flashed. You're biased, she snapped. You're taking her side because she's crying and I'm not. Mia wasn't crying. She was standing very still, every emotion pressed down like a folded napkin. The judge didn't blink. Double quotes, Miss Park. She said, there is a rule in this courtroom. Just one. Alex shot back. Could have fooled me. Hand down, the judge said. Alex realized. Only then that she'd been pointing at the judge. At the bench. Her arm wavered midair. She didn't lower it. Think you can talk to me like I'm some random nobody? She demanded, voice rising. Do you have any idea what my family goes through? The threats, the lies. And now you're all sitting here acting like I'm the dangerous one because the shelf fell. The bailiff took one step forward. He didn't touch her. He didn't raise his voice. He just moved into her line of sight, a living reminder that there were lines even her last name couldn't blur. Ma'am, he said quietly. Hand. The room watched. Every camera angle caught it. That split second where she could have backed down, dropped her arm, taken a breath. Instead, she doubled down. No, she said. I won't be humiliated like this. I won't sit here while everyone pretends this is about some broken cups when it's really about who I am. Judge Hala rose. Slowly. The effect was immediate. The air felt heavier. The gallery straightened. Even the clerk set his pen down. One, she said, holding up a finger. You do not point at me. A second finger. Two. You do not shout at me. A third. Three. You do not accuse this court of bias because the evidence does not flatter you. Alex's breath hitched. You were just digging, the judge interrupted. And you've hit rock. Mia stepped forward again. I have one more image, she said. Her voice was quiet, but the room seemed to bend toward it. She slid another print onto the bench. This time, the frame was tighter. It showed Alex's profile, hand gripping the edge of the shelf, back swinging into the bottom rung. Ceramic emitter. Her face caught in a half snarl, half laugh. There was nothing fuzzy about it. That, Alex said, panic creeping in now, is edited. I wouldn't make that face. It's from the same continuous clip, Mia said. I have my tech pull stills. Judge Holly glanced at the timestamp. 4:40 p.m., she said. Certainly not 4:15. Alex's palm smacked the podium. The crack made half the room jump. Stop. Judge Holly snapped. Right now. Alex froze. Her chest rose and fell quickly, adrenaline spiking. This is harassment, she whispered. You're all ganging up on me. You're making me out to be some kind of monster for one bad day. One bad day, the judge repeated softly. That you chose to turn into everyone else's problem. Alex's feet shifted. Astra's fight was bleeding into something else. Flight. I don't feel safe here, she said suddenly. I'm leaving. She took a step away from the podium. The bailiff moved, blocking her path before she'd taken a second. You need to remain, he said, still calm. until the judge dismisses you. You can't keep me prisoner, she snapped. This is not a jail. You're not under arrest, Judge Judy said. You're under obligation. You walked in here voluntarily. You don't get to walk out just because the truth is uncomfortable. Alex's gaze flitted from the judge to the bailiff to the doors. She looked like someone trapped in a nightmare with an audience. Her hand went to her purse. The room tensed. The bailiff's hand twitched closer to his radio. Alex pulled out her phone. You all think you can trap me, she said, her voice wobbling now. You think you can threaten me because you're in robes and uniforms? You have no idea who you're dealing with. She unlocked the screen with a shaky swipe. The judge's eyes narrowed. Miss Park, she warned. Think very carefully about what you're about to do. 3 taps. 9.L0.L1. The tiny digital tone sounded deafening in the hush. The line started to ring. Somewhere in the back, someone whispered, "No way." Alex lifted the phone to her ear like a lifeline. Don't. Mia whispered before she could stop herself. Alex ignored her. 911. Came the operator's voice through the faint speaker. What's your emergency? My name is Alexandra Park, she said, forcing her voice into that polished district speech cadence she'd heard her father use 1,000 times. I'm being held against my will in a courtroom by Judge Judy Files and her staff. They're refusing to let me leave. I feel unsafe. I need officers dispatched immediately. The audience froze. Not a breath. Not a cough. Just the quiet hiss of the air vents and the sound of a powerful man's daughter lighting. Imagine a dry forest. Judge Judy did not rush. She stepped forward just enough that the microphone on her bench picked up her words. Clearly, this is Judge Judy Files, she said into the room. We have a caller attempting to misuse your emergency line to escape a lawful civil proceeding. The operator's tone changed. Sharpening. Judge Judy, the voice said cautiously. Are you advising this is not an actual emergency? There is no threat to her safety, the judge said. She is free to leave once her case is concluded. She is not under arrest. She is not being detained unlawfully. She is upset about the evidence being presented. Alex's face drained of color. Stop twisting, she began. The bailiff shook his head slowly. Ma'am, he said. You need to be very careful now. The dispatcher spoke again, voice cooler. Ma'am, she said to Alex, the judge on site is telling us you are not in danger. Do you understand making a false report to emergency services is a crime? The word crime hit harder than any other spoken that day. Alex's grip on the phone loosened. I felt unsafe, she said, now sounding less like a senator's kid and more like someone finally hearing the edge of the cliff under her feet. Everyone was yelling at me. No one was yelling, Mia thought, but she didn't say it. Ma'am, the dispatcher repeated, are you in immediate physical danger right now? Alex's voice shrank. No, she whispered. Then this call is not appropriate, the dispatcher said. This incident will be logged. Do not hang up on us to avoid record. We have your information. Judge Judy nodded once at the bailiff. He stepped closer to the bench phone, hands precise as he coordinated with dispatch to document the incident. False emergency call. Courtroom. Caller identified. He said that. Each phrase landed like its own small verdict. Hang up. Judge Judy said to Alex, not loud. Not angry, just final. Alex's thumb trembled as she ended the call. Silence that followed was no longer about broken ceramics and bad attitudes. It was about the moment a person who had always been able to scare rules into bending ran headfirst into one that wouldn't. You just escalated this, the judge said quietly, into something far beyond a broken shelf. And for the first time, Alex Park looked less like someone on a stage and more like someone staring at the first real boundary of her life. If you were her parent, watching that clip later on the news, would you be more angry at the judge? Or at the way your own child just turned your last name into evidence? The call was over, but its echo hadn't finished. The bailiff hung up the bench phone with a care that suggested he knew exactly how many lawyers would listen to the recording later. Alex stood there, fingers still curled like they expected a phone to be in them. Her shoulders had collapsed inward. The set of her mouth was no longer defiant. It was stunned. This was a misunderstanding, she said, voice wobbling. I wasn't trying to. Misunderstanding? Judge Hawley repeated. A misunderstanding is thinking your latte is for here when it's to go. You deliberately asked emergency services to treat an uncomfortable legal proceeding as an abduction. That's not confusion. That's misuse. Alex shook her head fast, like she could scatter reality. I felt trapped, she said. Every exit was blocked. You said I couldn't leave. You had him. She jerked her chin toward the bailiff, standing in my way. What else am I supposed to call that? A procedure, the judge replied. Not a crime scene. Mia watched, conflicted. This was the same woman who'd stormed into her cafe like a storm front. Who'd spat threats that left her staff shaking. She still remembered the words. I will make sure you regret this. My father does not let things go. Yet seeing Alex now, shoulders shaking, voice thin, was like watching a tower she'd been staring up at for weeks suddenly reveal it was only hollow framing. The bailiff returned to his spot. Dispatch will note the false call, he said quietly. They'll probably kick it over to local PD for review. Alex squeezed her eyes shut. My father? She began, then stopped herself. Judge Hawley rested her hands on the bench. Your father, she said, does not sit in that witness chair. He is not on the plaintiff's side, nor yours. Right now, the only person on trial for behavior is you. The word trial made Alex flinch. It wasn't supposed to go this far, she whispered. This was supposed to be a warning, a line in the sand. She posts about me, tries to make me look crazy. I remind her there are consequences. That's all. You mean the sign you posted? The judge asked Mia stiffened. What sign? She whispered. Judge Files slid another paper from the folder. A color photo, the front door of Colin's Corner, a printed sheet taped eye level. The pixelated image of Alex mid-rant, mouth open, hand mid-swing. Text. We respect customers. We do not fear them. Underneath. Hashtag not your prop. Mia. Single quotes, eyes widened. I didn't put that up, she stammered. My barista did. I told him to take it down. Your employee posted it to his private account first, the judge said. It went viral locally. That's how Miss Park's name got tied into it. Not because you called the press. Alex laughed once, bitter. You think people care about a random barista? She said, they only cared because of my father. Because of me. I get dragged into drama I never asked for, and I'm just supposed to sit and take it? Is that why you went back the next day? Judge Hawley asked. Mia blinked. She came back. Alex hesitated. The flicker in her expression gave everything away before her words did. Yes, she said quietly. I went back. Without cameras. Why? The judge asked. The last of Alex's practice smirks died. Because someone sent my mother a screenshot, she said. With threats in the comments. With people saying my father raised a monster. With strangers calling me every name they could type. Her voice thinned, shredded by something raw. He told me to ignore it, she went on. Said it comes with the job. But I was shaking. I couldn't sleep. I searched that hashtag over and over. And every time that cafe was there, smiling, serving, like I hadn't, she cut herself off. Like you hadn't what? The judge pressed. Like I hadn't ruined our lives. She whispered. Mia's hand flew to her mouth. You didn't ruin my life, she said. You just made it really, really hard for a while. Alex let out a humorless laugh. That's the difference, she said. You get hard for a while. I get mobs with pitchfork emojis for months. So you march back into her shop, angry and armed with your last name, Judge Hawley said. That's when the shelf incident happened. Alex nodded, tears glittering at the edges of her lashes. She didn't bother hiding them now. I wanted her to take it down, she said. I wanted her to tell her staff to stop posting about me, to say they were sorry for making me into content. And when she didn't curl at your feet, the judge said, you escalated. I wanted control, Alex said. Just for once. Everything about my life is decided in rooms. I'm not allowed into strategies, polls, press. I thought if I made this tiny place understand who they were up against, they'd back down. Mia exhaled slowly. You didn't pick a bully, she said. You picked the only person in your radius who had less power than you did. Alex nodded miserably. Yeah, she admitted. I did. The judge didn't let the moment soften too far. Wanting control, she said, doesn't entitle you to rewrite reality. To drag a first responder line into your tantrum? Or to make a stranger wear your guilt like an apron? Alex blinked hard. I didn't think it would stick, she said. False report, or whatever you want to call it. I thought it would scare you, she said to the judge, voice small. Get you to back off. Get everyone to reset. I didn't actually want cops storming in here. And yet, Judge Holly replied, if dispatch hadn't recognized my name, they might have. She let that sink in. Asterisk. Imagine officers bursting into this room, she said. Guns may be holstered, maybe not. Staff startled. Plaintiffs terrified. All because you didn't like where the questions were going. The reality made even Alex's stomach drop. I'm sorry, she said, and for the first time that day, it didn't sound prepackaged. Sorry, the judge said, is step one. Step two is understanding that you don't get to weaponize systems built to save lives just because you're losing an argument. The defendant's phone buzzed against the podium. Everyone heard it. The screen lit up. Dad, just the name. Before she flipped it face down too fast, the sound she made then, a small, choked half laugh. Half sob, said more than any transcript ever could. He's watching this, isn't he? Judge Holly asked quietly. He told me not to overreact, Alex whispered. Said to handle it gracefully, that if I made a scene, it would be used against us. I thought standing up for myself was what he meant. She stared at her shaking hands. Instead, she said, I might have just given his enemies a campaign ad. Mia bit her lip. I don't hate your father, she said. I just wanted you to pay for what you broke. Alex let out a breath that sounded like defeat. I know, she said. And I turned it into something so much bigger. Because I didn't know how to be wrong without being destroyed. Judge Holloway watched the two women like a surgeon watching a critical organ finally start to beat on its own. This, she said, is what happens when people are raised to believe never let them see you lose is a life philosophy. They forget how to lose. Small. So every mistake becomes nuclear. The gallery hummed with quiet recognition. So now, the judge said, you've admitted you were still there. That you confronted Miss Collins over a sign. That you knocked the shelf, refused to pay, sixed a lawyer on her, and then dialed 911 to try to bully your way out of accountability. Alex flinched with each point. Yes, she said. I did. And the judge said gently that you did it because you were afraid. Afraid of being powerless. Afraid of being a headline instead of a person. Tears finally spilled. Yeah, Alex whispered. That too. Mia watched her, some of her anger dissolving into something more complicated. I don't know what it's like to have strangers send threats to my house, she admitted. But I do know what it's like to be scared in my own workplace. You did that to us. Even if you were hurting. Alex nodded, chin wobbling. I'm sorry, she said again, quieter. Like it wasn't for the cameras this time. Judge Hull drew a breath. Good, she said. Now we're done with why. She reached for her pen. Next, she said. Comes what? Because real apologies aren't measured in how broken your voice sounds when you say, I'm sorry. They're measured in what you do after someone like Judge Judy Files says. Very clearly, here's what happens now. Asterisk every eye in the room. Watch Judge Hale's pen dot each stroke across the ruling pad sounded louder than it should have. Scratch, pause, scratch, Alex stared at her own reflection in the polished wood of the podium. This was not the image she curated. No careful lighting. No control. Just a red nose, smeared mascara, and a dawning understanding that there were some algorithms she couldn't gamify. Mia stood a little straighter than she had when she first took the stand. The folder pressed to her ribs didn't feel quite as heavy now. Her cafe might still have bills, stress, and chipped paint when she got home. But for the first time in weeks, she wouldn't also have the question, what if she crushes us? Judge Hawley set the pen down. Miss Collins, she said first, you came here with documentation, not dramatics. You took notes, you pulled footage, you gathered statements. Instead of starting a shouting match online, you walked into a system that, frankly, doesn't always make it easy for people like you to be heard. That matters. Mia's eyes glistened. Miss Park, the judge continued, turning slowly. You walked in here certain your last name and your outrage would carry the day. They did not. But your eventual honesty might help you walk out of here someone slightly better than the person who marched in. Alex swallowed, nodding once. This court, Judge Hollis said, finds in favor of Miss Collins on her claim for property damage. Miss Park, you will reimburse her for the cost of the broken shelving, destroyed inventory, cleanup, and 2 days of lost business. That total is, she glanced at the page, $9,200. You will pay it, quickly? Yes, Your Honor, Alex said. No bargaining. No theatrics. Just exhausted compliance. As for your countersuit, Miss Park, the judge went on, alleging harassment and defamation. Denied, with prejudice. A muted cheer almost surfaced from the gallery, then died back into respectful silence. Now, the judge said, letting the room breathe for half a second, about you, Miss Park. Dialing 911, the atmosphere thickened again. That call, she said, will be noted as a false or inappropriate use of emergency services. I am formally referring the incident to local law enforcement and the district attorney's office for review. I am not charging you from this bench. I am making sure the people whose job it is to protect that system know exactly how you tried to use it. Alex's stomach dropped. Will I be arrested? She asked, voice barely audible. That, Judge Hawley said, is not for me to promise. What I can tell you is this. Even if no formal charge sticks, this will sit in a file with your name on it. The next time someone at a call center hears Park attached to a report, they will double check. You have chipped away at a trust you didn't understand held up more than just your pride. She let that sink in. Additionally, she continued, as part of this ruling, I am ordering you to complete 50 hours of community service in a setting approved by the court. Somewhere you do not control the narrative. A community center, a legal aid office, a small ops nonprofit. You will take instructions. You will listen more than you speak. Alex nodded, cheeks burning. Yes, Your Honor, she said, and the judge added, you will write a letter to the city's emergency communications director. Not from your father's office. From you. In it, you will acknowledge that you attempted to use their line to escape discomfort, not danger. They deserve to hear someone with your last name say, plainly, I was wrong. Alex winced. Okay, she said. This time, the word wasn't dismissive. It sounded like a promise she knew she couldn't afford to break, and we're not done. Judge Hawley said. She turned to Mia. You asked for an apology, she said. You're going to get more than one. She looked back at Alex. You will meet with Miss Collins in her cafe, the judge said. On a day it is open, but not during a rush. No entourage. No press, no phones. You will walk through her space, see the shelf that was replaced, the staff who flinched when your name came up, and you will apologize specifically for what you did there. Not in general. Not if I offended you. For knocking the shelf. For not paying. For sending Matt Lau your letter. For walking back in to intimidate her. Alex's eyes filled again. I can do that, she said. If she let me. Mia hesitated, then nodded once. I'll schedule it, she said. But if you turn it into a show, it's over. I won't, Alex said quickly. I swear. I'm tired of performing. Judge Hawley watched them both. You will also, she said to Alex, issue a public statement, not a carefully crafted PR spin, but a simple text on whatever platform you use to complain about this place, if you did. It will state that Collins Corner did not harass you, did not endanger you, and that any prior implication that their staff stole from or attacked you was false. Brands and baristas alike tend to suffer when rumors are left to rot. I didn't post anything about them, Alex said quietly. I ran it in a group chat. They did the posting? Then you'll use your platforms to clean up the story anyway, the judge replied. That's called leadership. Start practicing. She sat back slightly. In addition, she said, I am recommending strongly that you seek counseling. Not because I think you're fragile, because I think you've been marinating in pressure that was never intended for you to carry alone, and everyone else has paid for the overflow. Learn some tools that don't involve shouting, threats, or dialing 911 when you feel cornered. Something in Alex's face softened at that, as if someone had finally named a need she'd been too proud to admit. I will, she said. Honestly, I will. Judge Hawley nodded once. As for you, Miss Collins, she said, this won't erase the anxiety your staff felt. It won't refill the days you closed or the sleep you lost waiting for some letter on government letterhead. But it should cover your financial loss. And more importantly, it puts the truth on record, where her last name cannot erase it. Mia swallowed. Thank you, she said. Don't thank me, the judge replied. You walked in here with the courage to keep standing even when someone with a louder voice tried to shout you down. That's the part most people skip. And then they wonder why nothing changes. She picked up the gavel. One more thing, she said, looking directly at Alex. You said earlier you didn't want to feel powerless. Power, Miss Park, is not your ability to make people flinch when you drop your father's title. It's what you choose to do when someone tells you no, and there's no one left to override it. Alex nodded slowly, absorbing it. Understood, she said. Good, Judge Hall replied. Because after today, if you go back to the way you were, that's no longer ignorance. That's choice. She lifted the gavel. This court stands on 3 simple things, she said, eyes sweeping from bench to back row. Truth, responsibility, and the reminder that your last name is not a magic word in this room. She brought the gavel down. Judgment for the plaintiff, she said. Proceedings concluded. The crack echoed. People rose. Mia exhaled, the kind of sigh that comes at the end of a storm that's lasted far too long. For the first time, she pictured unlocking her cafe door the next morning without wondering if a camera crew would follow. Alex stayed at the podium. A second longer, she reached for her phone. It buzzed again. This time. She didn't flip it over fast. She stared at the name, then slid the device back into her bag before answering. For once, she wanted to decide what to say before someone told her how to spin it. As the audience filed out. Conversations buzzing about false 911 calls and trending hashtags. One question lingered in the air. Was this the day she actually changed? Or just the day she learned, for the first time in her life, what the word consequence really meant? And if you're honest, really honest, when was the last time you faced that word too, and chose to grow instead of reaching for your own version of 911?